What up, everybody? It's time to do another video. Today we're going to talk about a firearm. We're going to talk about my choice for a concealed carry pistol. I'm going to preface this video by saying two things. The first is, no, I am not an expert. While I do have a lifetime of exposure and experience to firearms growing up in the South, I haven't owned every type of firearm. I haven't shot every type of firearm, and I'm not an armorer. So you'll never hear me claim to be an expert. The next thing is, I'm not going to do a lot of direct comparisons to the competition of the pistol that I chose, mostly because I don't have those pistols on hand to do the comparisons with. So the pistol I chose is the Ruger LC9S Pro. Now before we get started, we'll go ahead and do a safety check on this. We got an empty magazine. We got an empty pistol. Alright, safe pistol to talk about. Alright, the Ruger LC9 family. That's a fairly young family for Ruger. They were introduced in 2011. And it was initially met with a great reception by the firearms press and the consumers. But soon after, there was a big backlash against this pistol because of the trigger pull. Everybody loved the pistol. They loved the look of it, the feel of it, the grip, the size, the weight. But they didn't like the trigger pull. And that's because it was a double action only trigger pull. It was long and it was heavy and it was sort of gritty. So Ruger took all this into account. They went back to the drawing board, and just 3 years later, in midway through 2014, they brought out the second generation of this pistol, the LC9S. The S suffix standing for striker fired. So they made a radical change in the trigger group from double action only to striker fired. Now we had a much shorter, much crisper, much lighter trigger pull. Fantastic trigger pull. Now on this second generation, the only big change was they did away with the large loaded chamber indicator in the top of the slide and gave us a machine window to check that whether that chamber was empty or not. Now, that second generation carried over a couple of features that people didn't like, and that was a thumb safety, which I could care less about one way or another, and a magazine disconnect, which I hate in a pistol. Magazine disconnect is sold to the public as a safety feature. It is not a safety feature. It is a safety crutch for people that cannot exercise good firearm safety. And safety crutches, in my opinion, cause more accidents than they prevent. So I don't care for magazine disconnect at all because it makes the pistol virtually useless if there's no magazine in it. Even if it has a round in the chamber, you can't fire the gun. What happens if you fumble a reload on it, you need to fire it, you can't. And this pistol is kind of small and light. It wouldn't even make a good club. So magazine disconnect, in my opinion, it just sucks. So after getting feedback on this manual thumb safety and the magazine disconnect, just 6 months after the second gen was released, they bring us a third gen, and that's the LC9S Pro. And that's the model you see in front of you. They did away with the thumb safety. They did away with the magazine disconnect. We now have the most revised version of this pistol, and it is a fantastic little pistol. Now let's pull that out of the way and we'll take a look at the packaging that it came in. No fancy plastic case with the Ruger, just a cardboard box. In that cardboard box you get a little zipper foam lined gun rug pouch. You get the lock that you can add to your collection of the others that you have unopened in your safe. Then you get all your mandatory paperwork, safety paperwork, and user's manuals, warranty paperwork. You got a neat little Ruger sticker there that I need to grab out. Then you've got a fired shell casing for states that require that, and a single magazine. Now, you just heard me say single magazine, and that is the only issue that I had with this purchase. It only comes with a single magazine. Now, Ruger did this as a cost-cutting feature, and it let them bring out a pistol that was quality-wise equal to its main competitors, but at a slightly lower price point. And I'm going to say right now, if there's anybody from Ruger that sees this, you need to go online and you need to look at all the videos, all the reviews, all the talk on the forums, Facebook pages. Literally 100% of people that buy this pistol love the pistol. They love it, but they hate that it only comes with one magazine, and they all say, including me, we are willing to pay $25 more for this pistol if you'll just throw a second magazine in there. Who would own a semi-automatic pistol with only one magazine? A magazine is a weak point in a semi-auto pistol. What if you have a magazine failure? You have a useless firearm. You don't even have a backup magazine. The capacity on these small pistols is 7+1 for the most part. You need to carry a second magazine with you when you carry it. So Ruger, please, let's update this thing and bring a second magazine into the package, even if it costs $20 or $25 more. All right, now onto the pistol. We'll quit bitching because this is a great little pistol. Let's talk about the fit and finish on it. It's a fantastically made little pistol. It is competitive with any of its counterparts in the single stack 9mm arena, because they're mostly all polymer frame striker fired pistols for the most part. And we're talking about pistols like the Springfield XDS, the Smith & Wesson M&P Shield, the Glock 43, the Walther PPS, pistols like that. Now, I found that the polymer frame on this is just as well done as any of the others. There's no molding lines, no issues, no voids. The material that was used is very firm. There's no flex in it that it shouldn't have. It feels, while not heavy, it does feel substantial and strong. Of course, the slide, the forging, no issue with that. The machining, no issue with it. No issue with the finish on it. I keep this in I carry it in a leather holster. And admittingly, I'm not doing a lot of unholstering and reholstering with my carry piece other than to show it off. But I've not had any premature wear of the finish on the slide, no premature wear of the finish on the small parts. So, overall, I think the fit and finish is good. The slide is tight on the rails. I've not had any issues with fit and finish. Now, the next thing is the sights. This pistol does come with a decent set of steel 3 white dot sights, but I prefer night sights on all of my pistols, so I immediately took those sights off and installed a set of, I believe, bright sight night sights. I believe it's bright sights. They're just tritium night sights. They are 3 dot night sights. There's your sight picture on that. They're about maybe 5% bigger than the factory sights, so they're not so big that they look funny on it, but they are just slightly bigger. They give a slightly better sight picture, and then of course they're night sights because all those bad guys, those cowardly motherfuckers, all of them, they like to do their shit in the dark. So you need to be able to see your sights. Now, the next thing on this pistol, when they changed this pistol from a double action only to a striker fired trigger group, that was such a radical night and day difference. The trigger pull on this pistol is fabulous. And this is one of the few things I'll say to compare it to its competitors. The trigger pull on this pistol is better than any of its competitors. It is hands down better. It is light. It is crisp. Just watch this trigger pull. All right, you got a little bit of take up. Clean, crisp break. All right, now, the only bad thing about it is it does have sort of a long reset. But my thought on reset is this. while I would like it to have a shorter reset, in a self-defense or tactical role, 99.9% of people do not have the training to shoot off of the reset. When you are in a fight or flight situation, your brain commands your body and it dumps a bunch of chemicals into your system. You get tunnel vision, you get hearing attenuation, you lose fine motor skills. Fine motor skills are what you need to shoot off the reset. In a shooting situation, the best thing you can hope for, in my opinion, is keeping the sights on target and handling your reloads. Because I'm going to tell you right now, in most shootings, even those involving law enforcement, the shooter cannot even remember how many rounds they shot. If you cannot remember how many rounds you shot, it's insane to think that you are going to have the acuity and the fine motor skills to be shooting off of the reset. Most of the time you're going to be gorilla fisting that pistol, pulling that trigger as hard and as fast as you can until it's empty. All right, and then hopefully you get that reload right. So let's not worry about the reset too much, because the trigger pull is fantastic. It is so light and so crisp. My example pulls at just over 4.5 pounds consistently, and it is a joy to shoot with. While it's not a target pistol, you got a short sight radius and you've got set combat sights, and it is a small light pistol. You're not going to be taking it out punching the center out of a target at 50 yards. But at self-defense ranges, you know, the FBI magical 21 feet or 7 yards up to about 10 yards, you should be able to shoot 2 to 4 inch groups with this pistol. That's what I typically shoot when I'm running my drills, unless I push my speed, and then those groups open up to about 6 inches. But at 7 to 10 yards, you're going center mass on somebody that's 20 inches wide, a target that's 20 inches wide, say. 2 to 4 inch groups are perfectly good, and it is very easy to shoot those groups. Now, we're going to drop the magazine out on this because I'm going to talk to you about that. They're steel magazines. They're finished well. You've got a polymer follower, a polymer base plate. Now, on mine, I've put the pinky extended base plate rather than the flat base plate, and both come with the magazine. Now, I will say the only issue I've had with this magazine, or this pistol, I'm sorry, is the magazine that came with it. The magazine spring went bad when I stored it loaded, and I typically do that with all of my semi-autos to see how the magazines will react. This pistol fired perfectly for 200, 250 rounds, and then all of a sudden it wouldn't feed one round. So I pulled the magazine out and took it apart, and the spring came out with a kink in the middle of it. It came out looking like Italy. All right, it was kinked right in the middle, and that was obviously just a failure in that spring wire, or maybe a heat treat failure. Now, I have 3 other magazines, and they're both Italian and American-made factory magazines for this. I've had no issue with any of them. I've left them fully loaded for 2 weeks to test them. No issue with any of them. I've not read or heard of anybody having any issues with magazine springs, so I think it's an isolated case just with that one magazine. And if you know anything about springs, they're very sensitive to things like that anyway. So I don't see an issue. Sooner or later, I'll get in touch with Ruger, and I'm sure they'll send me another spring. No issue. All right. So I've not had any issues out of the pistol itself. It's got about 500 rounds through it right now, and that's 124 grain ball FMJ, or 124 grain Federal HST, which is my carry round. Both standard pressure. I don't carry plus P in it. With modern hollow points like Federal's HST, I don't see a need for the plus P pressure, the hot loading, because they expand beautifully They have plenty of velocity and plenty of energy. Just being shot with a well-expanded 9mm round, it doesn't matter if it's moving at 1,000 feet per second or 1,150 feet per second. It's bad to get shot with it. So, anyway, you know what? I mean, really, what can I say about this pistol? It just, I like everything about it. I like the way it looks. I like the way it feels. Let's go over some specs before I close this out. The overall length is 6 inches. The overall height with the flat base plate magazine is 4.5 inches. With this, the pinky extension is 4 3/4 inches. It's a very lightweight for its category, 17.46 ounces. You got a 3.12 inch barrel, 9/10 of an inch wide slide. With the slide release, you're right at an inch wide. You got a capacity of 7 plus 1. So within its competitive group, it's slightly lighter and slightly thinner than most of its major competitors, but it still carries that 7 plus 1 capacity. Now, when you go and you start looking at these single stack 9mm pistols, the good thing is all those pistols that I mentioned, the Springfield, the Smith & Wesson, the Glock, the Walther, this pistol, and there's a whole bunch. SIG's got a pistol out there. Taurus has got some pistols at a little bit lower price point. But the top tier of the pistols, they are all fantastic little pistols. When you pick it up, it's all going to be a personal preference. How does that grip feel in your hand? How pointable is it? How does the trigger pull feel to you? How are the sights to you? And if there's any extraneous features that one may come with, say it's a laser added or whatever, you know, it's all personal choice. There's a lot of brand preference that goes into that. You know, the Glock guys, they will probably typically go for the Glock 43. And that's a fine choice. It's a marvelous little pistol. The Springfield guys, they'll go for the XDS, which I did initially and then got rid of to buy this pistol. And so on and so forth. You know, the Smith & Wesson guys are typically going to go with the Smith & Wesson, and Walther guys with the Walther, and the SIG guys with the SIG. So, I guess the moral of this story is, go down to your firearms dealer. Go to more than one. Put your hands on as many of these pistols as you can and get the one that feels best to you and seems like the best bargain to you. Because let's face it, a concealed carry pistol is not a pistol that we buy to use every day. I don't shoot this pistol as much as my full-size pistols. I do shoot it regularly. I shoot it at least every 2 weeks just to keep on the trigger and to keep on the sights. But I don't put as many rounds through it, and other than that, you know what? I hope I never have to use it for its intended purpose, because that means I'm trying to kill somebody, and I'd like to make it through life without having to kill somebody. But I also want to have the ability to defend myself and my family if the need comes to it. I think this pistol is fantastic for that, and that's why I chose it. All right, guys, I'm going to keep this video kind of short. There's so many videos on the LC9S Pro out there, and a lot of those videos will do direct comparisons. Those guys have got the other pistols on hand. I've watched all those videos myself. They give you a good idea of what's going on between these competitors, so be sure and check them out. I want to say thank you for taking the time to view my video. Same as always, God bless all of you, and we'll talk to you later.